What's up guys, Meredith with ExtremeTerrain.com, and today we're checking out the locking center console in black denim, fitting all 1976 through 1995 CJ5, CJ7, and YJ Wranglers. Now if your center console from factory has just seen better days, whether it started to rip, fade, or just doesn't function like it used to, this is going to be a great solution. Now this will bring more to the table compared to a replacement if you're looking for more out of your interior, like security, which will put your mind at ease that your valuables are safe, especially if you run your Jeep without a top often. Now, if you simply don't have one in your Jeep, whether you bought it like that or are in the middle of a resto job, this will also be a good option for you to complete the job with a well-designed console. Now this center console will offer more than the average with multiple features built into the design. Now starting at the front, you can see that there is an ashtray or a compartment on the lower portion of the console, and right above that is a change holder, which is pretty convenient. In my opinion, keeps you organized and keeps the change out of the cup holders. Now speaking of those, you'll have two spots to put drinks, which is necessary if you're anything like me and have multiple drinks or multiple people in your car. And I do also like that the upper one is in the back portion for your rear passengers, in addition to leaving the space open in the front for the elbow pad to rest on if that's how you naturally drive. Now the best part of this system is the lockable feature for the additional security for your items, but when it's unlocked, you can easily lift this open for full access to a large compartment capable of fitting whatever you need inside, in addition to an organizational insert or multiple inserts to keep everything in place. Now this will consist of multiple different materials, including some heavy-duty plastic trim and steel plating for rigidity and of course the security aspect. Now the outside will have a layer of black denim fabric around it, which will match it very well with the older style interiors and really whatever color, considering that that black is going to be neutral and virtually match anything. Now this will be pretty average in price compared to other choices at about $175. Now with that being said, I definitely think that this console has a lot of characteristics that make it a great choice that some others may not bring to the table. Especially that locking feature to keep your items safe and not have you worry about them when the top is off, which in a Jeep, especially an older one, is most of the time. Now install will be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter and will take you about an hour to get the job done. Now speaking of the install, one of our customers here has actually put this in their Jeep and is going to walk you through what that process looks like step by step. So that is going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and get into the install.
Guys, this job is very easy. It only requires a couple of tools. First and foremost, you have your basic impact driver. It's cordless. You can use a corded one if you want. I myself have a cordless one. Also a standard Phillips head driver bit, and I'm also using an extension on this job as well. Last but not least, this is different, additional. I got just your standard razor knife. Hey guys, today we're going to be installing a black denim locking center console for a 1988 Jeep Wrangler YJ. Before we get started on the center console installation and putting the hardware on it, I wanted to show you a slight adjustment that I made. This is simply placing the center console sitting without being secured to the frame. But what I'm doing is, if you'll notice, the bottom bracket, you have a slight gap between the bracket and the center console. Now, if you're like me, I want to accommodate for that so everything sits perfectly flush and even. So what I'm going to do is use a aftermarket shim that I'm going to secure to both pieces. Now, most likely your Wrangler will sit a little bit lower than this. If not, then you're welcome to do this adjustment. But other than that, all the hardware came perfectly fine. Center console looks great, and I'm going to adjust for that little bitty gap that you see right there. So give me just a second, I'll show you the tools I'm going to use for that. I'm using a standard plastic shim. The reason I chose plastic is because wood over time will deteriorate, but plastic will last pretty much forever. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this to the size that I need. If you remember, the gap between the center console and the actual bracket itself was a bit to where it was leaning to one side. So I'm going to accommodate for that little bitty gap right here in just a second, which is the reason why I said earlier we were going to use the razor knife, and that is just simply to cut the shim itself. Just make a score on it. Cuts pretty easily, just like that. I'm gonna cut this into 4 separate pieces. Second one, right here. Again, just scoring it, and it bends and breaks pretty easily. And last piece, making right here. Score it, and it snaps just where you need it. Now what I need to do is accommodate these 2 pieces underneath the bracket. That way it'll have the right degree of angle. After we've cut the shims, you'll see I've got 2 little pieces on each side. And what I did is place them right on the angle of which I'll need it. So I'll get the bracket just to test it out. And if you notice, as they sit in, the bracket will be angled just enough for me to get it in there. After I place in the shims, this is what they'll come to look like. Now I'm going to place the shims down. I'm going to screw them down first to secure it, and then we'll show you screwing in the bracket. So I've got my shims, I've got my screws. I'm going to place the brackets right where we had them earlier. I'm going to get my screw and my driver. There is one. Here is the second one. Okay, we've got our shims in place. We're now going to get our bracket, and I'm doing it where the bracket is meeting up at each corner exactly of the actual bottom cloth, not the padded part of the cloth itself. So my corner meets up there, my corner meets up there, and I've got the supplied screws. I'm going to drill them in. There is one, and second one. Nice. Bracket is nice and secure. And we've got a slight angle that we've created to accommodate the height of the Jeep center. We'll show you that. What comes next? All right, you all, I'm gonna bring my center console in. You noticed I pushed up both of the seats. I'm just gonna gently place the center console down before I screw it in. I want to make any manual easy adjustments exactly to where I want it to be. Let me show you here in just a second where the shifter is at compared to this. Just gently placed the center console in. I have not screwed anything down, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to get the right distance between the shifter and the actual center console. So where it's sitting now is pretty good. If you notice, on most Jeeps you have this little lip here that accommodates the transmission underneath, but what I'm gonna do is that is my measuring tool. What I also do right now, it's in first gear, but if we move it down to neutral and you play with your shifter just to accommodate whatever clearance that you think you need, I believe I have the right amount of clearance that I would like. And what we're going to do now is we're going to secure with the supplied self-tapping screws. Okay, we've got our center console in place. I've got my self-tapping screws that we're going to place into the drill exactly where I need it to be. I'm going to start placing these screws down. I want to make sure you have it in the right spot. Here we go. All right, there is one, and number 2. Let's bring it around to the other side. Alrighty folks, here's the last part to installing your locking center console. So you have the cup holder here in the front. Cup holder easily pulls out. Just slowly lift it up. And you'll notice in the bottom, you've got a hard cardboard face. What you're going to be doing is you're going to be drilling straight through into the actual frame with your self-tapping screw, which is where the extension comes into play. So I'm going to trade out my extension with your standard Phillips head. Going to place in my self-tapping screw. I want to find just the right spot. If you feel you need to score it first in order to get the screw in, that'd be fine. But if not, you don't have to. So we're just gonna go nice and easily in. Okay, felt it grab. Now we're gonna go into it. You'll see the center console raise a little bit. That's just because it's gone through the actual the cardboard, and it's hit the frame. So keep going. Should be it. Nice and secure. There we go. I believe that's good. Now, take your cup holder. You want to place it back in.
So that's going to wrap it up for my review and the install of this locking center console in black denim, fitting all 1976 through 1995 CJ5, CJ7, and YJ Wranglers, and you can find this right here at extremeterrain.com.